Every snap is an interview.
After the Snap.
What a snap. Hey, keep your mouth shut, 50.
I lead by example.
With Blake and Reed Ferguson, discussing life in, out, and after football.
To be able to leave walking away with a degree and a championship, it couldn't be any better.
Yeah!
Well, you can take this boy out the real south on but you can't take the real south out of my voice. And now here we go again. Twist a little bit deeper because I got thick skin. You must be selling me some.
All right, so let's just jump right in here, Reed. The NFL schedule was released last Thursday, and it was probably poor timing for our podcast release. We're thinking about maybe talking about it and doing some teasers, but we released on Friday. Anyway, it's time to talk NFL schedule release. The Buffalo Bills have like 14 primetime games. The Dolphins have several. I can't wait to talk notable matchups. Some of my favorite matchups that I'm looking forward to. Tell me some of yours. I know you guys have a bunch of primetime games. What are some that you're most looking forward to this upcoming season?
Yeah, it's before I get into the ones that I kind of circled, I have 4 or 5 on here in my notes that I want to get to. But before we kind of get into those, we've hit on this a couple of times talking about the draft and the combine and how the NFL owns the offseason, basically. Yep. It is unbelievable. Unbelievable. The anticipation that surrounds a schedule release.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. And I am as big a culprit as anybody else out there. Now, I won't go as far. I didn't follow the Twitter guy who created his account 3 weeks ago, right? And was putting out stuff, throwing darts at a pole. You know, it's like eventually you're going to be right once.
The schedule leaks have become
that guy.
It's become a problem almost with
definitely
the teasers, because most of the time they're not right at all. Sometimes here and there you'll see a schedule leak that, you know, I think maybe you said it before to me. I can't remember if it was on the podcast or not, about the Rams potentially being on Thursday night. I think you might have said that on the pod.
I had just seen something about that, because if you can use context clues for a lot of things, you know, like I think the Rams might be playing in London. So that's a game that they, you know, that they're giving up. Then you look at like, okay, well, they're definitely playing on opening night, but they play this team on later in the season, and that's already, so that you have 5 more home games to choose from. So which game, you know, which of the home opponents left is the best matchup? And you can kind of go through like Denver was another option for them, but so it was like Denver or Buffalo for the opening game. And then it was like, okay, well, they played Denver later in the season, so it's got to be Buffalo. So it's like you can kind of like filter out a little bit, but keep going. Sorry.
No, I was just saying there are times like that where it's spot on. Like you can use the context to pinpoint what the game is going to be, and then you get the leaks that are just like complete, just shot in the dark, and there's no evidence at all to back that up. And I do
fake schedules.
Yeah.
I mean, the fake white page schedules were floating around with misspelled team names. Like that was a dead giveaway.
But I think as the popularity grows around the schedule release, I mean, I don't remember 5 years ago the schedule release being as big of a deal as it is today. But
it's definitely
I will say that as we see more hype around the schedule release, there's going to be more people trying to predict the schedule. Same thing with the draft. I mean, the draft is one of the most popular things about this league, and you see mock draft after mock draft after mock draft of people just trying to predict who's going to pick who, and even the journalists who have inside information that are just completely wrong. And you know, it's just, I feel like as the popularity around the schedule release grows, that's just a common byproduct of it.
No doubt. So we'll get into it here. A few matchups I circled obviously week 1 right off the bat, like apart from, like who we're playing, I really circled it just because like what a cool way to like start the season, right? I mean, you're playing, Super Bowl champs in their home stadium. I've never played there before. Checking it off my list. I mean, it's, Thursday, prime time, only game on TV, everybody's going to be watching. So that was the first one I had jotted down. The second one I think is a given. Week 6 in Kansas City. It's not a prime time like a night slot.
Like an afternoon slot.
It's a 4:25. CBS chose it as their game of the year, which is the one game I think that they can protect.
Yeah.
From
they
a
can't
broadcast standpoint.
I don't think
they can't be flexed.
Right. I was just going to say, I don't think that they would be able to make that a night slot because Sunday Night Football owns that time, and you're not going to have two games.
I was just saying
it's
not. Yeah, I was just saying it's not like a prime time. Like you think of prime time games, it's a night game, right? Yeah. It's it's the game of the week or what a game of the year for CBS. Yep. Week 12, obviously Thanksgiving in Detroit. That will round off.
Bills are playing a lot on Thanksgiving recently.
This will be our third or my third game on Thanksgiving. We're knocking out.
Who did you had Dallas
in 19, Saints last year.
Saints, okay.
And then at Detroit this year, week 12. That's the early slot. Detroit always gets the first Thanksgiving slot. So we will have played in all 3 time slots over the last couple of years playing on Thanksgiving, which is also cool. So get Bills fans. Obviously you're going to be tuning in early. And then the last 2 I had week 15. You guys come to town, the home Ferguson Bowl. I imagine that the reverse game is probably on your notes. Hosting you guys, I'll have to get you guys some good beer or something from up here.
I feel like that
to do it upright.
I feel like that this year could be a very meaningful game, being
Definitely.
It's that late in the year.
Definitely.
Last year, our second time playing y'all was week 8 or 9,
Halloween,
and we were at the time we were like 1-7, and so it didn't mean anything. And the year before, when we came to Buffalo, it was the last game of the season, and it was our opportunity if we had beat you guys to get into the playoffs. I feel like the same type of thing could happen on this week 15 matchup, and that's also one that I had on my notable matchups was this game, because it could mean a lot towards not only the division but also just playoff implications in general. If somebody's out of the division, winning the division, then you could still make the wild card or whatever. So
absolutely,
I think that one's going to be big time game.
No doubt. Is that I didn't memorize the dates of the games. I think
they had it
that
on
was like a Saturday, Sunday.
I think they had it on 2 separate dates. I don't think they've locked that one in yet.
I think it's like the 18th, 19th. Is it the week before Christmas?
Yes. Yeah. Because the next week we play. This is another one that I had. We play Green Bay at home on Christmas Day.
Got it.
And
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that week 15 would be the day before.
Okay.
The week before.
Sure. The last one I have noted is week 17, second to last game of the season. We go to Cincinnati for the what I believe is the last Monday Night Football game of the season. So that'll be pretty cool. Last time we went down there, I think we lost in 2017. So it'd be good to go back down there. I vividly remember it was monsooning all day long. So we'll be anxious to get back down there and get a win. That AFC opponent late in the season, that could be a big game too. So as far as you, I know you had a few circled. What are some of the games you jotted down?
A couple of them are repeats from opponents that you guys are playing. This first one is obviously not, but week 3, you guys come to town. That's like starting off the season hot. We have like a 4-game just roaster right at the beginning with Baltimore, and I think we kick off maybe with New England. Game 1.
You guys have New England week 1,
and then you guys are there week 3. So and then week 4 we go to Cincinnati. And the last time we were in Cincinnati was preseason this past year. It was beautiful up there. It was it was almost like hot. We were like, wow, this is, we thought we were getting out of Miami and coming up here for a preseason game. It's going to be a little bit cooler, but it actually turned out being pretty warm. So hopefully we get some good weather, being that it's pretty early in the year. And then, like I mentioned before, week 14, 15, 16 is kind of a fun back. Week 14, we're at LA Chargers. So that'll be the first time going out to SoFi. I'm pretty pumped about that one.
See your buddy Justin.
Yes, see
Herbert.
See Herbo, see Fajoko, see a couple of those guys out there. And nice. Then, like I said, just seeing that stadium, that's one that I've been looking forward to since it was built. Week 15, we're at Buffalo. And like I said before, could be a super meaningful game. Week 16, home versus Green Bay on Christmas Day. Those are my top 5 notable matchups. Every game in this league is a big game. You want to win every single one of them, but a lot of those ones that I mentioned are big time, meaningful games. So it's gonna be a great year. I'm pumped. And
I think it is too.
And I'm really looking forward to having the NFC North on our schedule this year. I know I only mentioned one of them with Green Bay, but that's sort of the rotation that we're in for the AFC East, NFC North matchup this year. And I'm pretty pumped about that.
Who is the NFC West team that you guys play?
We play at San Fran the week before we play the Chargers. So
that's the 17th game.
Yeah. So I would imagine, I don't know, but I would imagine that we would maybe stay out there because we're at San Fran and then we're at LA the next week. So I don't know. It seems like you would just stay out there and practice as opposed to coming all the way back to Miami and then going all the way back on a Friday, just because going to West Coast, you usually want to get out there a little earlier to get adjusted to the time change, but who knows? So I'll be interested to see that. But yeah, San Fran, who do you guys have?
The Rams.
Okay, the Rams, done.
Yep.
Got it. So yeah, should be a great year.
Looking forward to it. Wanted to get into some baseball stuff. I mean, we love talking about it. I mean, we're sending each other stuff pretty much daily.
Yep. If you don't follow us on Twitter, you need to follow our personal accounts, because Reed and I and a few other friends of ours are constantly going back and forth, specifically around the Red Sox and Yankees rivalry.
And the nuances of their baseball parks.
More specifically, the short porch in the Bronx, which is also like a minor league stadium, but it's okay. The Yankees are leading the pack right now, and you guys are proud of it.
Yes, very proud. I think when you looked at before the season, you kind of said, I mean, I think on if you looked at a lot of like the betting sites and stuff, they had the Yankees, the Blue Jays, and the Rays, and I think the Red Sox. I can't remember if it was 3 or if it was 4 teams, basically all winning the same amount of games. I think they had them all at like 88 wins or something like that. It was something crazy. Like Vegas basically looked at and said, we value these teams all the same. And we thought it was going to be a bloodbath. Turns out it hasn't, thankfully. It's been great. Red Sox haven't been great. But the Yankees, I think they showed a stat the other night. I think they've won like 18 of their last 21 or 22 games. Just an insane start to the season. and whatever their record was,
must have been a lot of home games early.
Yeah. Whatever their record was, like 32-9 or something, whatever it was at the time, it showed, 4 or 5 teams that had started that at that record or a game better, and they had all gone on to win the World Series. So I am not getting my hopes up. I know the past couple years what this team is capable of and how this team is built around the power game, but they have changed. So kudos to Brian Cashman for bringing in some speed to the Yankees and a little more of the small ball game.
It's funny to me to look back on this offseason and specifically like the last month or two right before the season got going. Yankees fans were pissed with Cashman and the way that they approached Story, didn't sign any of the big time free agents, and it's proving to have been the right decision as of a month and a half into the season.
Right.
Is it sustainable? We'll see.
Right.
But
I mean, Judge, not to mention, turned down $230 million. He said, I'm betting on myself, and basically said, watch this. And he is currently performing at a sick pace right now, basically tops or near the tops for the AL MVP race right now, probably out there with Shohei Ohtani and a couple other guys. But I think Trevor Story's hit a couple homers lately. He's heating up.
Started off slow.
Turn it around. Definitely started off slow. That happens though. Correa did the same thing in Minnesota when they signed him to his big deal. So
I think when you
there's
do
a lot
that,
of games ahead.
I think when you do that, there's a lot of pressure around that. And I think that it's probably cliche to say, oh, signed a big contract, there's a lot of pressure. Duh. But when you go to a new place and you're getting adjusted to so many new things, a new team, a new coaching staff, there's going to be a little bit, I feel like it's natural to have a little bit of a slow start. When JD Martinez came to the Red Sox, it was not that. And I think that Red Sox fans were a little bit spoiled because of that. He was our last big, free agent who was okay, this guy's a baller. This guy, he's going to come in and he's going to hit 40 home runs a year. And he did. The first 2 years, it seemed like every single night he was yakking one and then smacking another one off the monster. And so then, Trevor Story comes in with these huge expectations because everybody was trying to sign him to these big deals. We got him.
Not playing his normal position.
He's learning not learning a whole new position because I'm sure he's played it before, but it's definitely not what he's been used to playing his whole career in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And so you tie all that together, and then all of a sudden he's a month in and he has one home run, and you're like, okay, slow start. The Red Sox are getting going. Devers has been keeping us not in the mix. We're not in the mix right now. We're 13 games out of first in the AL East. Not looking great.
It's a tough hill to climb.
We are ahead of Baltimore now, which is progress.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
We were 2 games behind Baltimore the last time you and I spoke about this, and now we are now a half game ahead of Baltimore. So we're slowly climbing to the top. I'll see you after 162 games. But one other thing I wanted to bring up, was the Pirates and Reds game from last week.
Yes.
And if
all-time disgusting game.
Yeah. If you didn't see the headlines coming out of this game, the Pirates beat the Reds, who I think might be the worst team in the league right now.
Definitely the worst team in the league.
I think they have the
they
worst
were
record.
3-24 at one point. Yeah. They're all-time bad.
They're currently 10-26. The next closest team, I believe, is Washington at 12-26. Anyway,
Pittsburgh's down there too.
Pittsburgh, yeah, they're 15-21. Anyway, Pittsburgh beats the Reds after getting no hit. The Reds threw I believe it was a combined no hitter against the Pirates.
Yes.
But the Pirates ended up winning
have
the
any
game.
hits, right? They didn't have any hits, but I think by technicality, the Reds pitchers didn't throw 9 innings. So it's technically not being classified as a no-hitter.
Okay. They didn't have
That's super
hits.
nuanced.
Yeah.
That's super nuanced. I'm saying that for myself because I was in the same thing a couple of days ago. I was like, oh, they got no hit. Oh, technically they only threw 8 innings.
Yeah.
Because they, obviously won in the bottom half of the night.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, all time I watched the highlights. If you haven't watched the highlights, don't. There aren't many. There's one extra base hit.
Yeah.
I mean, just no.
All-time bad baseball.
All-time bad baseball.
Hilarious stat line.
It's like 6 teams in history that have done it, I think, that have gotten no hit and still won the game. Pretty amazing. But the Mets are killing it.
Crushing
new
it.
owner, ton of free agents. I mean, Scherzer is a monster. I mean, he is just. I mean, he's performing. I didn't think that he would still perform at a Cy Young at this high of a Cy Young quality after signing a big deal and moving teams to the same division in the same division. But I love watching him pitch. He's so angry. And that brings up another thing where I think he was like a Japanese ambassador or somebody who was supposed to throw out the first pitch.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But he was like 3 minutes late.
He was already
going out there
on the mound.
Scherzer was warming up. He was like 4 or 5 pitches in, didn't let him throw the first pitch.
No. They said the marketing lady with like the headset was like,
this is not just,
not
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah,
I'm not talking to him. So that means you're not doing this. I felt bad for the guy, but like be on time. You got to know who it's like. You got to know your audience. You got to know who's in front of you waiting to take the mound. So
I don't know that there's an angrier person that I would want to try and push off the mound than Max Scherzer.
There's not.
I'm trying to think of like who would I want to approach less before they start a game. I think there's like one person in that category, and it's Max Scherzer.
No doubt. And then last thing on baseball, we talk about it. I mean, darn near every night, it feels like.
So bad.
It's time for the automated strike zone. These umps have been
the umps are terrible and
atrocious.
I follow I don't remember what it's called. There's a Twitter account that I follow. I think you follow it as well.
Bad ump calls or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
terrible.
It's like
a comedy
every night.
It's a comedy show.
Every time Angel Hernandez calls a game, there's like 6 pitches that come out of his performance that are just like totally wrong. And we're not asking you to be perfect. Just don't have so many of them. Just be better. Just be a little better.
Yeah, it's brutal.
But it seems like across the league, it's been all-time bad. I can't remember what game I was watching the other day. There was confusion on like a fielder's choice type play, and the umps were like going back and forth for like 5 minutes on what the correct call was. And I think they still ended up, I think the commentators said that they still got it wrong. Like,
wow.
Come on, man.
Yeah. I do love that they have mics now and they announce like instant replay stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yep. I think in all of the major sports now, you have referees who are football, obviously, basketball, they like talk into the weird camera that's like right on the scorer's desk, like uncomfortable because he's like looking down into the thing. NHL, obviously, when they announce the calls and stuff, and then now baseball. So I think all of the all of the major sports have some good communication, which I think for the fans is better.
Definitely.
Because I feel like it used to be that it was like,
just take your best guess.
You just assume you think you know what happened, but now you don't have to.
Yep. And speaking of major sports, including soccer, because I think that that has to be included as of late, which they don't have mics.
Nope.
They kind of just have their camera deal or the video board, whatever.
I don't think the MLS. I don't think the MLS currently counts in terms of the major sports in the United States. If you look at, I think it's the Big Four. And
it's growing,
kind of the MLS, but yeah, certainly growing.
Well, speaking of the MLS, Leo Messi
coming to
Miami. Enter Miami.
Let's go.
He is he's taking a $200 million stake in the team, in the organization, to be a part owner, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Because they can't seem to get their act together. Yeah, it's been
terrible.
Bad.
Yeah. Even with some good foreign signings.
Yes.
Like
I mean, it was a disaster because when they were, it took them years to even get the team set up when they had all the clearance they needed. It was just, I remember their first season a couple years ago, maybe it was 2019, but it was like 2 months before the season started and they didn't have a coach.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah. I feel like I mentioned a second ago, I feel like with the major signings that they've had, even though they've been late in their career, I feel like that's at least a good foundation for good football. And you have to build on them. You got Gonzalo Higuain and his brother. You had Matuidi. You have some major players who've played big time football in Europe. Come on, and you've got David Beckham as your owner.
I know. I know. That's right. There's some disconnect there, but it will
Leo
be very
Messi,
cool.
I believe it was a 35% stake in the team, and he's going to come in 2023 after his contract is up in Paris. So
pretty cool.
It should be sick.
Cool.
I'm pumped about that. I know you and I are both Atlanta United fans.
He's gonna score 50 goals.
Yeah, he's gonna run circles around defenders, and it's not gonna be fair. And you've seen time after time the guys who come over here from Europe to finish their career. Zlatan, who came over here, played for LA Galaxy, torched people. And so Leo Messi, who's in my mind, he's the greatest player of all time. I that's up for debate.
Makes
but
two of us.
It's hard for me to believe that he's not going to just run circles around people. So it should be super, super exciting. Coming up, we'll be sitting down with Atlanta Braves pitcher Jake Higginbotham. He's a football teammate of mine from middle and high school, and he's currently based just outside of Jackson, Mississippi, with the AA Mississippi Braves. He will be joining us right now. Joining us on the pod this week, we have Atlanta Braves pitcher, and even more importantly, high school teammate of mine, Jake Higginbotham. First of all, thank you for joining us. Secondly, let's just jump right into it. You grew up in Metro Atlanta area. Baseball is obviously a huge deal in Atlanta, specifically travel baseball. I know you played over in East Cobb. How did you sort of get into playing baseball growing up and then on into the East Cobb baseball? That's like the sort of the I don't know what you want to call it, but that's where everybody big.
It's like the mecca of travel ball. Yeah,
almost.
Yeah.
How did you get into that?
So I started playing baseball, I think when I was 4 years old. I played t-ball and just played it all the way through. It was actually my second favorite sport. I love to play football. But as you know, I stopped growing when everyone else kept growing. But as far as travel ball goes, I started playing travel ball when I was 10 out of the park I grew up playing at. They were called the OC Stars. I was the smallest kid on the team, played a little bit of center field, didn't pitch much, couldn't hit the ball out of the infield. I was tiny, but I could run a little bit, so I was effective. And then when I turned 13, we moved over to Forsyth County, and I played at Sharon Springs for the Sharon Springs Spartans for a year, and then for the Georgia Outlaws for a year. And when I was 14, and then I played for Team Gwinnett when I was 15 and 16. And then we made the transition over to East Cobb, and I redid my 16-year-old year and played with my graduation date. And then I played at East Cobb from 16, 17, and 18 years old. So East Cobb is like the mecca of travel ball. It's crazy in professional baseball how many guys I see that played over at East Cobb. I actually have 2 on my team that I played with in travel ball right now in AA. So it's pretty wild, but lots of great memories made. Lots of great memories made over at that park. So
you kind of just alluded to what I was going to ask about, some of those guys that you played with. Obviously, like Blake said, and like you just talked about, East Cobb is the mecca, like you said, of kind of where a lot of those pro guys come from. Dansby there with the Braves, Jared Walsh balling out in LA with the Angels, Buster Posey, probably Hall of Fame catcher. And then Brandon Phillips, another big name that came out of East Cobb. Who are some of those guys that you mentioned that you played with that are now in the big leagues?
So Joey Bart, another Buford Wolf. He's a freak of nature. That guy is unbelievable. He's one of the best players I ever played with. So he played over at East Cobb with us. We played on the same team when we were 17. Brandon Marsh is another name. Also a Buford Wolf, plays out in LA for the Angels in the big league. Great beard. Elite beard. Had a tumble the other day on the Gatorade.
That was amazing.
We saw it.
Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious. I wanted to send it to him, but I'm sure he's getting ragged on pretty hard.
Yeah.
What are some of the other names? Dexter Fowler's an East Cobb name. Tyler Stevenson.
Did Dexter play at Milton?
I believe he did.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe he did.
He came out of Milton High. That's where we grew up before we moved over to Buford.
Right.
So he, I think he was the name I remember that came out of Milton.
That's a big baseball hotbed. A lot of guys that I played against in college were out of that area. They're the Milton High School team's always loaded. So Tyler Stevenson, Riley Gillum, man, the list goes on and on. Jalen Miller's on my team. He played at East Cobb. Trey Harris is on my team in AA. He played at East Cobb. It's pretty insane. We were actually talking about it the other day in the locker room, the amount of guys we played with that are in professional baseball. So I don't think a lot of other travel organizations can boast the numbers that the East Cobb Travel Organization can boast as far as guys in professional baseball. So it's pretty impressive. East Cobb is like the Buford of
I'm glad that you brought that up, because that was where we were going to go next. And in tandem with playing at East Cobb, you were also playing for one of the top baseball schools in the South, in my opinion. And I was just going to ask you what kind of impact that Buford sort of left on you as far as going to playing at the next level and ultimately wanting to play professional baseball. You mentioned the names Joey Bart, Brandon Marsh, Sam Clay, who played at Buford before you. How did Buford prepare you to play at the next level?
I think the biggest thing with Buford was the camaraderie we had. Honestly, it was maybe as close a team as I ever played on. We got along really well. We were always on the same page with stuff. We competed really hard. We had fun in the dugout. We had a great team too. We had, I think, my senior year, Blake and I senior year, we had 10 Division I guys on that team. It was a pretty absurd number. So, we had really good players and we were blessed with that. But at the same time, we played really well together. We practiced hard. We played hard. We had fun. We had team dinners twice a week. That was probably one of the closest teams I've ever been on. And for that reason, we were able to have some success my senior year and win a state championship. I know y'all two got to experience a couple more state championships than I did, but it's a feeling unlike any other. It really is. I won a championship in college, an ACC championship, and then I won a AA championship last year. And I don't think anything quite compared to that state championship run we made. It was pretty special, and there's a lot of memories from that. So definitely lucky to be able to be a part of the Buford family as far as the guys I got to meet, the coaches I got to be around, just the culture of the school. It was seemed like there was always a buzz around the hallways about a sporting event of some sort because we were so dominant in different sports. So
I think it was
really fun to be a part of.
I think it was because of the maybe 1,000 students in that school, probably 75% were athletes in some capacity.
Exactly.
And the
like
rest,
I said,
and the rest were winning state championships in, some kind of other arts or whatever it was. It was a school based around excellence for sure.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Jake, at what point in high school or maybe even earlier than that, did you decide, okay, I want to pursue baseball more than football past high school? And then maybe jump into your recruiting journey and how you chose Clemson over some of your other options.
Yeah. So I, from the time I started playing football at 5 years old, that was my first season of full contact football. That's all I ever wanted to do. I loved football. After my 9th grade season, I got hurt that summer and didn't play much in baseball because of so I played quarterback in football and then played defense as well. Blake was actually my center. It was pretty cool. So I played quarterback, and the amount of throwing we did during the football season and then turn around and play a full school ball season and then turn around and play a summer season, it was a lot on the arm. And then a lot of kids, they started to hit that growth spurt and get bigger and stronger after that 9th grade year. And I played spring ball for what was going to be my 10th grade season. And I was kind of given a decision to make as far as, I needed to be at summer workouts for football if I really wanted to have an opportunity to contribute to the team. And I just couldn't do that with the baseball schedule that we had. So at that point, I kind of had a self-realization that football probably wasn't going to be my future just based on my size. So I chose baseball, and I think that following summer, I committed to Clemson. So I mean, y'all know how the recruiting process goes. It can be overwhelming at times. It seems like y'all kind of had an idea of where you wanted to go from the shoot, but I had no clue. I had no clue where I wanted to go. So I got an offer from Western Kentucky. I spoke to Tennessee pretty heavily. Georgia Tech gave me an offer. I spoke to Virginia and Vanderbilt pretty briefly, but ultimately chose Clemson. Just felt like the right fit from a campus and an education standpoint. So, that's one of the best decisions I ever made, was going to Clemson, and wouldn't trade that experience for my life.
You wouldn't have met your now wife had you not been at Clemson.
Correct.
What kind of impact has she had in your journey? Obviously playing professional sports is very difficult. How has her support helped you, from meeting her at Clemson and kind of seeing it from the ground up?
Yeah. Y'all know me. I'm pretty intense when it comes to competing. Like I get sometimes too intense, it's to a fault sometimes. And she's actually more intense than I am. So she balances me out a little bit as far as like on days where I don't perform the way I want to perform, as mad as I am. She's like, dude, you got to get it together. We're going to be all right, but you got to get it together. She gives me that pep talk, keeps me going. So she's been a trooper with the distance, and it's not an easy thing being a minor league baseball player's wife. We don't make a ton of money, and we're normally not home 6 months out of the year. So she has been a real trooper with that. Nothing but supportive. I actually get to see her on Wednesday up in Chattanooga, so I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, she's been incredible. She grew up in a sports house. Her dad is a football, baseball coach, coached her in softball. She played golf. He coached her in golf. Her mom coached her in cheerleading and dance. So her brother plays football at Newberry, and her sister ran cross country at USC Upstate. So they come from a sports family. So she totally gets it. She understands what's going on with the life. And I mean, as you all know, being professional athletes, like I said, it's not an easy gig, but it's what we set out to do from an early age. So it's just part of us. So, and she gets that completely.
Yeah. You ultimately ended up getting drafted by the hometown Atlanta Braves. What was it like being drafted to play in the city that you grew up in?
It's been pretty dang cool. Lots of support coming out of all the Atlanta Braves fans in the area. But I will say on draft day, or during the 3 days of the draft, I did not expect the Braves to be a team that called my name. In our pre-draft meetings in the fall, they actually told me that they don't typically draft old juniors. So the Yankees and the Braves both told me the same thing. So I had pretty much crossed them off in my mind as potential landing spots. And I was lucky enough to get my name called by them in the 11th round. And it was really pretty cool. I got to sign at the stadium, and that's the team I grew up watching down at Turner Field. So to be a part of that was pretty cool.
You staying kind of with the Braves topic. You got a few innings with the big boys in spring training.
Yeah.
How does that help from a kind of a development standpoint for a young guy like yourself to face all those guys for a few weeks in spring training?
I think so. If you look at AA up in the minor leagues, I think everyone's physically capable of competing at a major league level. I think what separates major leaguers from minor leaguers is, the confidence after failures. They're able to stay confident after failures, and they're able to block out any distractions mentally. Basically, I think is the biggest thing. They're able to handle the stage. And for me to get that experience, I got to pitch against, the big league Yankees lineup, and that was a wild adrenaline rush. But it kind of showed me that, I can compete at that level, and it was more of a confidence boost than anything. I didn't doubt my physical capabilities, but a lot of times the game can speed up on you when stuff happens like that. And I felt like I managed it pretty well, and it was kind of a eye opener knowing that I just got to continue to develop and I can compete at that level. So
a lot of the I guess just from following it over the years, like you mentioned, from AA up, pretty much everybody can compete. I mean, that makes sense because a lot of call ups, I mean, you see guys, pretty often get called up, straight from double to the major leagues. So, there's guys every year that kind of skip the AAA step.
Right.
So it kind of, like you said, it kind of comes down to that confidence.
Right.
But obviously the Braves, reigning world champs, what has it meant for, for the organization to bring that home to Atlanta, first one in a long time, since 95. I remember wearing or watching we had like a video, like a, I don't even know, Blake, what was it? It was like a World Series highlight.
Yeah, it was
from 1995. And I remember when I was young, I was probably like 5 or 6 years old, and I would sit and just watch that and Lion King on replay like all day long. And that's like a core childhood memory to me, like watching, just sitting and watching like it was like a season highlight, whatever, right. Not a DVD, but like a VHS,
yeah.
back in the late 90s. But what from being a player in that organization, what does it mean to the city to bring a championship after such a long drought?
It seems like it's kind of put a jolt in the fan base a little bit. There's a lot of excitement around the Braves, so I think it's awesome. You could sense it in spring training. There's a sense of urgency to win right now. I feel like they have a roster that can compete with any other roster in the league, and there's a little bit of excitement, and it kind of feels like I said back in the high school days when there was excitement around the halls, knowing that you had a bunch of winning teams. It's kind of the same thing. There's just an extra little energy going around the locker room and in the minor leagues. Like everyone wants to be a part of it. So I think for the city, it was awesome. They built that new stadium over there in Smyrna, and I guess it's technically Atlanta, but it's really Smyrna, the Battery. And I feel like it's always jumping over there. There's a lot of energy around the team, and I think it's been good for the sports fans in Atlanta to be able to experience a championship. Now, I hate that UGA got a national championship that they can celebrate as well, but that's another story for another time.
I mean, like you just said, putting a jolt in the fan base. I mean, they won the World Series. They basically added what I think is the best player in baseball when he's healthy, Acuna. They added Kenley Jansen.
Yep.
Right. All world closer. And then,
Phenomenal.
You replace Freddie with Matt Olson, who's balling out this year.
Right.
I mean, it's
phenomenal.
like, you just don't see that very often. It's kind of, most teams coming off a title, kind of stay the same, or kind of, some guys will leave and get paid somewhere else.
Right.
That's not the case. Unfortunately, Ronald had an injury, but like to get a player of that caliber back, like, and he wasn't, I mean, he played, half the season or whatever, and then got hurt, but he wasn't a part of the playoff run or anything. And then to get that back, he's got to be hungry to get, he has got a ring for last year, but I know he's got to be super hungry to kind of go out there and get one where he can put his stamp on it.
Yeah. When everything clicks for them, they're going to be really dangerous. They're going to be really, really dangerous. They have, they added Spencer Strider to the bullpen. Guy's electric, Clemson Tiger. They've made some really, really good additions, and they have some guys coming through the system that are going to be able to contribute later on in the season. Like I said, when everything clicks with them, it's going to be fun to watch. So, like I said, a lot of buzz, a lot of talent in our organization right now. So it's pretty cool to see.
I think a lot of times people don't realize how difficult it can be playing minor league ball. And most weeks it's 6 games straight. You get Mondays off, and then you're back, 6 more. You're bussing pretty much everywhere you go. Yep. Tell us what life is like in the minor leagues, because I don't think a lot of people realize how rough it can truly be. You've got these long road trips. People just see professional baseball players and they're like, oh, it must be, this lavish life. Tell us kind of about that.
When you hear people talk about the minor league grind, they're not lying. A lot of times they don't do it justice based on how they describe it. But you learn to love the suck. It's you got to embrace it. It's part of the journey. And when, the guys who are blessed enough to make it to where they want to be, it makes it a whole lot sweeter. So, we bus everywhere. We got a bus trip coming up. We leave at 5 p.m. tonight. We head to Chattanooga, which is about a 6-hour drive. In 2019, we bused from Rome, Georgia to Lakewood, New Jersey. It was an 18-hour bus ride. So we got out of a game at about 10 o'clock. We loaded up the locker room, packed up the buses, got on the road, drove through the night, got off the bus, slept for 2 hours, and then played a game. So, the travel's a grind. It's gotten way better, though, with them redistricting the different leagues. I think the longest bus ride we have this year is 7 hours, which is not terrible in the grand scheme. The food has gotten way better since I first came into minor league baseball. The Braves have done a really, really good job. So this year is the first year that we've had housing provided for us. Otherwise, it's up to us to either find a host family or pay for our own housing. And this year they're providing housing, and each player gets their own room with a queen bed. We have a 3-bedroom apartment with a fully furnished living room, completely decked out kitchen. So they've done a great job. They've made a lot of improvements, and my paychecks have actually more than doubled since I got into minor league baseball. Now I still make below the poverty line every year, but again, it's part of it. So hopefully we can get to where we want to be, and it'll make this grind worth it. So you do it because you love the game, and everything else is kind of secondary to that.
Yeah. A lot of times, you have guys coming up and down, and there's a ton of movement in minor league baseball. How is it difficult to build relationships with the guys on the team when there's so much movement up and down like that?
No, I think a lot of guys that we actually come together, we know that, we bond over how crappy it is sometimes. So it's like everyone's kind of on the same page as far as, what we're experiencing and what we're going through, but we're also going through it together. So it makes it a little bit easier. We got 26 guys in a locker room that are all experiencing the same thing, come from different walks of life, but we're all in the same place. So, and then in spring training, we're around a lot of the guys that we're going to see throughout the year. They kind of group us together during spring training so that we can have an understanding of who we're going to be with throughout the season. So they do a really good job of that. The locker rooms in professional baseball are a lot of fun. believe it or not. They're a lot of fun. Like I said, you get guys from the Dominican, you get guys from Venezuela, you get guys from Mexico, the US, and it's just like this melting pot of guys coming together to try and chase one dream and kind of go through some crappy situations along the way together. So it's pretty cool to see. I didn't know what to expect when I first got into it. My first year in pro ball was in Danville, Virginia, and I got to tell you, that tested my love for baseball. It was a tough city to be in. It was really, really tough. So there wasn't a lot there. The stadium was small. The food wasn't great. The hotel was pretty brutal, but it's gotten way better since then. So thank goodness.
That's great to hear. I remember maybe it was this off season before the strike, or maybe it was sometime during last season, but they announced that the MLB, I guess, league wide was going to start investing a lot more money in the minor league systems, which is great. I mean, I think the more, I mean, it makes sense, right? The more money you kind of help out, whether you're paying more salary wise or you're giving more benefits like the housing and stuff like that, it's only going to boost the morale for the players to, perform better and so on and so forth down the road. But so I got one more question for you, and then I'm going to hit you with a few short snaps. What we call short snaps, just a couple quick questions to kind of see, get your personality out there. We ask pretty much every guest that comes on the show. But so last question for you: have you had to pay any young guy dues since the time you got drafted?
I haven't, not in professional baseball. I did in college. As y'all are probably familiar, the freshmen, they get their fair share of initiation. But I have heard stories of guys who make it to the big leagues have to pay their young guy dues a little bit. There's some pretty funny stories out there. Most of them involve a really, really big bill at the end of a nice team dinner. But
that seems to be a pretty popular option across professional sports lately. I think that's the initiation now. It's not so much like the H word. I'm not going to say it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
The H word part of things.
Yeah. Okay, you bought us dinner. You're a part of the team now. Exactly. I'm sure it was probably way worse before they had a crackdown on it. But yeah, it normally happens once you get to the big league locker room is where you'll probably experience that a little more.
Sure.
What about y'all? Did y'all have any initiation type stuff that you had to go through when you were first drafted?
So I was Blake was drafted, I was undrafted. So my initiation was being the DD for a night, taking all the specialists and one of our assistant coaches out for a night on the town. So that was fun. I don't know about Blake. I think did you treat them to a dinner?
Well, so I'm glad that you actually asked that, because during COVID 2020, my rookie year, we couldn't carry shoulder pads, swap, like I couldn't carry 17 helmets off the field. And so what they did was, after that season, most of those guys had rookie dinners. My rookie dinner was actually postponed because Blakely, my niece, was born. I was literally we were supposed to go down to Prime 112 in Miami to eat dinner. And Blakely was born a week early. I fly up, had to get out of the rookie dinner. So Jason Sanders, our kicker, still gives me a lot of crap for that, because as soon as I got back, that was when our punter left, and he's up in Buffalo now. So the group hasn't gotten back together. But as soon as we get Jason and Matt back in the same city, all three of us together, there will be a dinner at some point, I'm sure.
There you go.
Let's get into some short snaps.
Threw a wrench and everything, huh?
Yeah. Let's get into some short snaps, Reed.
Yep. Few questions here for you, Jake. Just quick fire questions, whatever first comes to mind. Favorite away park to pitch in?
Favorite away park to pitch in? Greenville Drive. The Greenville Drive Stadium's awesome.
Okay. Least favorite away park?
Least favorite away park? Asheville Tourists. It is, we call it Williamsport because it is so short. It's like playing in the Little League World Series.
It's got to be some type of Yankee Stadium.
It's like playing in the Bronx.
Yeah.
It's like 297 down the right field line. It's super short.
Oh, no. That sounds like Fenway.
Yeah. Yes. It's really short.
Okay. Who is someone, I know you mentioned, you pitched against the Yankees lineup, obviously had the adrenaline rush that comes with that, some of the big name guys there, but who is someone that you are looking forward to facing someday once you get called up?
I hope I get to face Joey again because the last time I faced him, he hit a line drive off my face. So I'd like to give him some payback.
Dude, you showed me that video. I thought you died in that video. Like your face, like you took it straight to the nose. And I mean, or what was it? Your jaw or something?
It hit me right
jaw.
in the chin.
Yeah, not your nose. It was brutal.
Yeah.
So
he drilled me. So I'd like to give him some payback for sure.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. What are a few artists? Who are a few artists on your pregame playlist?
A few artists on my pregame playlist. I like Russ. I like Future. I like Five Finger Death Punch. A little heavier. Avenged Sevenfold.
Oh wow.
I like a little bit of like heavy metal and then some rap. So
nice.
That's typically what I would listen to on a pregame playlist.
Awesome. Favorite post-game meal?
Favorite post-game meal? You can't go wrong with a Chick-fil-A spicy chicken sandwich.
Oh,
now we're talking.
I love it.
Yes. Yes.
Love it. Okay. Last question here. This came up. We've asked every guest, I think, that we've ever had, sports related, not sports related. Last year we played in Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. It was like week 5 or 6 or something. We had a rain delay at halftime, and I was eating. A couple of us were in the hallway, like getting some fresh air. And we were eating a couple of the PBJs that they had in the locker room, and I made a comment that they were a little too heavy on the PB.
Oh, really?
So it was sticking in my mouth a little bit. I had to drink a little more water than I probably wanted to kind of wash it down. And Michelle Tafoya, the sideline reporter, happened to be standing there, and she overheard us. We kind of chit-chatted a little bit about it, and it eventually made it onto the broadcast in the second half of the game, unbeknownst to me until after the game. Obviously, I got word of it, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was the guy talking about the peanut butter sandwiches. So anyway, my question to you is, what is the ideal PB&J ratio if you are making the sandwich yourself?
If I'm making it myself, so when I eat a PBJ, it's normally an Uncrustable.
Yes.
But if I'm making it myself,
that's a popular answer.
And it's got to be frozen. It's got to be a frozen Uncrustable. It's like a candy bar.
Now we're talking.
But if I'm making it myself, I would probably prefer a little more peanut butter than jelly. Yeah, probably 60-40, going 60-40 peanut butter to jelly.
Bang, right on it.
That is it.
Love it.
Well, Jake, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. If y'all want to follow Jake, you can find him at Jake_Hig, Instagram and Twitter. Jake, best of luck the rest of the way. We will be watching for you, and thanks for taking the time.
I appreciate it, fellas. Enjoyed it.
Thank you, Jake.
All right, Reed. I thought that was one of my favorite interviews that we've done. Love having football guys on the pod, but it's always fun. Like we had Larry Fleet, had Jake on this week. It's fun having some outside blood to come in and just hang out and learn more about maybe industries or jobs that we don't necessarily know a whole lot about. I loved hearing all of the people that he played against and with at East Cobb. It is insane to me to think about the factory that East Cobb is. I had a blast with Jake on the pod this week. What did you think?
I thought it was great. He's super insightful. I thought it was cool, just hearing from guys. I mean, you and I, we have heard, we grew up watching baseball. We obviously try to understand the world that he lives in, being a minor league baseball player.
It is a grind.
It's a grind. And it's a hard lifestyle till you can till you can, hopefully make it up to the major leagues and fulfill that dream. But just to hear about the perseverance and, sticking with it and kind of, it's good to hear that they have, the MLB has committed to treating those guys better, paying them a little more, putting them in better housing and stuff, because that is such a point of contention, or has been a point of contention in years past, with guys trying to find host families and stuff, and kind of living paycheck to paycheck, which I understand is part of it, and that they can't pay them a ton of money, but these baseball teams are making a lot of money. So they can afford to funnel a little more to the guys that they would like to see in their major league teams someday. But I thought it was great. He was a fantastic interview. I thought it was wonderful. So I hope everybody enjoys it.
If you want to follow Jake on Instagram or Twitter, I know I mentioned this a second ago, at Jake_Hig, Instagram, Twitter, go give him a follow. He's got some cool insight into the baseball world. Like Reed said, it is a grind. So we are super pumped to see where he goes. I feel like he could be playing some big time baseball here very soon, and joining the likes of Joey Bart and Brandon Marsh from the Buford Wolves. Right. That Buford Wolves 2015 state championship team was nasty. So as always, if you want to follow us on social media, you can follow us at After the Snap Pod on Instagram, Twitter. We're now on TikTok. Go follow us in those places. Subscribe to us, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you consume content, we're probably there. So that's a wrap on this week's episode of After the Snap. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week with a huge guest. Tune in Monday morning. We will be announcing who we'll have on next week. See you then. This has been After the Snap, tales from two brothers who live life upside down.